Welcome to South Jersey Business with Joe Molineaux. Thank you for joining us as we share information, tips, and techniques that can make our business community and your business more successful. Thank you to Stockton University for the opportunity to produce this show focusing on business in South Jersey. Taping is finally returning to the TV studio here at Stockton, and we have some great guests lined up. However, today's show is going to be a recap. We will be featuring a few of the many guests who graciously decided to be a part of our virtual taping experience throughout COVID-19. So let's get right down to business and start with Kevin and Alicia Stauffer, the owners and operators of Hooked on Breakfast in Ocean City, New Jersey. Let's take a look at how a vision and a goal can lead to a viable and successful business in our region.
Let's get right down to business with today's featured guest. Alicia, Kevin, I want to welcome you both to South Jersey Business with Joe Molineaux, Zoom style.
Thanks for having us, Joe.
Well, we might as well jump right into it. I understand, because I do know you, I understand that one of your first jobs as young people was working for an iconic breakfast and lunch eatery in Ocean City. Can you talk briefly about that first work experience in a restaurant?
Yeah, sure. We were both, I don't know, maybe teenagers, kids. We both started working with Uncle Bill's Pancake House. We were both at the Margate location, and I was the cook, she was the waitress. And we did that for a few years, jumped back and forth between 21st Street and Ocean City and Margate. And that's basically where we started.
You do know that's the making of the beginning of every Hallmark movie, right? You do know that, right?
Who knew your teenage job would change your life, right?
Just so you know, that's every rom-com that I've ever seen starts that way. I love it, though. And I know you guys have a great relationship, and it's clear in the work that you do. Let's get into the business talk a little bit. How did the opportunity to actually start your own business come about?
Well, Kevin's kind of always talked about having his own place. And for a long time, it was just a fun discussion. Like, wouldn't it be fun someday if we had our own restaurant? And, it was just like an idea that was kind of always in our discussions. And then I guess a few years ago, I realized he was pretty serious about it because he kept talking about it. So we just started to pursue it. And I just thought, like, if you really want to do it, let's just do it. Like, why can't we do it? So we started to really figure out what was going to make it work for us. And for us, the solution was, moving. We had to sell our house, and we really wanted to be in Ocean City. We knew that this was the place for us for a business. And, Kevin grew up here. It just felt like coming home for him. And, the summer tourist market is great. There's a lot of great locals that really frequent the downtown area. And we just kind of went for it.
Yeah, agreed. You chose a great place, and I think you found a new home in many ways over in Ocean City. So congratulations on that. I think your menu is really interesting. I've had the opportunity to be to your place, as I mentioned in the opening, a number of times, and I've enjoyed it every time. How do you come up with the ideas for what you serve on the menu? Because it is a very interesting menu.
I think it's pretty much everything that we want to eat. Like, we've been doing breakfast a long time. We love breakfast. And it's basically, we just wanted to create a menu that was cooked and prepared how we like it. So everything on there is basically our favorites. So we wanted to basically make a menu that kind of shares our favorites with everybody else.
How did you come up with the name Hooked on Breakfast? I think that's a great name because I know you have people hooked already, but how'd you come up with the name?
Well, that was a long time in the making. We knew we wanted to open this business, but it took us a while to figure out what the name was exactly going to be. And we threw out a couple of ideas and before we settled on Hooked, and the kids weren't really on board. They didn't really like it. It was kind of a more generic name, and nobody really loved it. So we had been on vacation and we were in the Keys, and we were still talking about, starting this business and coming up with a name. And everywhere you drove in the Keys, it was all about fishing. And we knew we were going to be on Ocean City Island. So we wanted to kind of have a play on words with that. And out of nowhere, Kevin just goes, what about something with a hook? Let's get our people hooked in. And he just said, like, Hooked on Breakfast. And everybody in the car was like, yes, that's it. That's the name. And as soon as he said it, we kind of all knew, like, this was a good one. Everybody loved it. And it just stuck. And we love it.
Well, that's a perfect segue. Now that we have the show viewers hooked on you two and learning more about your business, we're going to take a quick break, but I want you to sit tight because we're going to be right back, okay? Let's check out how you can connect with South Jersey business through social media, and then we'll be right back with more business talk featuring Kevin and Alicia Stauffer of Hooked on Breakfast, located in Ocean City, New Jersey.
Thanks again to Kevin and Alicia for being part of South Jersey Business. This show is not just about individual businesses. We also feature local organizations that also impact our region. One such example is our next guest, Vicki Clark, the immediate past president for the Cape May County Chamber of Commerce. Let's see what Vicki has to say about how she became part of the Chamber and the importance of the Chamber's impact.
Vicki is the president and CEO of the Cape May County Chamber of Commerce, and it's a pleasure to welcome her to South Jersey Business with Joe Molineaux. Vicki, thanks for joining us today.
Joe, it's my pleasure to be here. Really.
Yeah, this is a long time. This is a long time coming because I've been trying to get you as a guest, and I know it worked both ways. You're very busy, but that's not an excuse. But I'm so happy that even in this Zoom environment where we're filming and taping from home, it's really nice to have you here. So maybe for the people that might not know you, maybe you could take us back with your early involvement with the Chamber, and then what led you to your current role as president and CEO of the Cape May County Chamber of Commerce.
Well, like I said, Joe, I think you'll be a little surprised to hear that I actually began my chamber career as a volunteer. I got married and moved here, and the neighbors of my in-laws' business, he was at the time the president of the chamber, which at that time we had an executive director. He was the volunteer president of the chamber, and he recruited me to volunteer at the golf tournament. And that was my introduction to the chamber, which eventually led to I came on board at the time as an administrative assistant. And I stayed in that role for a short period of time. And then I left. My husband and I were starting our family. And so I left the chamber. I never expected to be going back. But a couple years later, they called and asked me if I would be interested in the marketing and membership director's position. And that was my background. And so I came on board as the marketing and membership director, which eventually led to becoming the president of the chamber. So
that's great. It's I'm not surprised, but I did not know that you started as a volunteer, but I'm not surprised because now that I know you and I've known you for all these years, I know you're a get in there and get it done kind of person. So that's awesome. Maybe you could quickly just talk about what the chamber does as far as the role that it takes in the business community and what it does for businesses.
Well, everybody says, what does the Chamber of Commerce do? And it really is a little hard to describe. But I think if I had to say it in one sentence, we help businesses promote themselves and expand their business. It really depends on how much a business gets involved in the chamber and what they do, how they engage, and what programs and benefits that they take advantage of.
It's great. We're going to get into the membership and some of the people you work with in the next segment, but I wanted to ask you about just the different areas. We can talk and kind of set the tone for the next part of the interview. I know you do a lot with advocacy. I know you do a lot with events. I know you do a lot of unique programming, and you also keep the business community aware of what's going on right in Cape May, as well as the region and the state, and even sometimes the nation, how it affects the business. Are those the key components that you're working with right now and working on right now?
Right. I think advocacy, member engagement, education, those are really our, if you think about that three-legged stool, that's really what we do, what makes us unique in our area. Those are the things that we feel are most important to the business community. And advocacy, especially in this day and age, is so important to the business community because there's a lot happening on the legislative front. We don't have a pact. That's not how we approach it. We feel that advocacy is really informing the business community of what issues are in front of them from a legislative perspective, both at the state and the federal level. So we simply inform and educate and provide member engagement opportunities for the business community.
I think that's great. If you could briefly spotlight one lesson that you've learned, one of the most important lessons you've learned as you've led the chamber as president and CEO, what would that be?
Nothing today is going to be the same as it was yesterday.
Oh wow, that's gospel right there. We could put that on we could put that in a book and sell it. That's good stuff. That's a great lesson. All right, we're going to take a quick break and show you how you can follow South Jersey Business on social media, and then we'll be right back with more talk with
Again, thanks to Vicki and everyone at the Cape May County Chamber of Commerce. Another organization we're grateful to have on the show was the Greater Atlantic City Chamber. So it's time to revisit with the Chamber's president, Michael Chait, who also tells his own story of how he became part of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber and the key importance of connection and collaboration the Chamber provides to the local region.
Without further ado, let's get right to the show. Michael, welcome to South Jersey Business with Joe Molineaux.
Hey, Joe, how are you? Thank you for having me tonight.
Well, let's go back to the beginning. How did you first get involved with the chamber, and when did you get the role of president?
You know, I started involvement with chambers when I was younger, certainly in my time in Cape May when I was there. And then at the Press of Atlantic City, as marketing director, I was on the communications committee for the Greater Atlantic City Chamber. So I spent a couple of years, probably 3 years, on the communications committee with the chamber, learning about the organization, how we convey our message. At that time, I was recruited to join the chamber as executive vice president to, follow Joe Kelly, who was the president of the organization for 25 years, pretty big shoes to follow. I became president, great timing, of January 1 of 2020.
We all know what happened then.
Yeah.
What exactly does the Greater Atlantic City Chamber do for its members?
It's a great question. It's probably the number one question we get across the chamber industry and business association industry. There's the three main things that you can look at that we do. One is advocate. We're the voice of the business community. Certainly for Atlantic County, we have 400 members, we have 60 board members, but it represents tens of thousands of employees in the Atlantic County region. So we advocate on behalf of the business community to our elected officials, both on a local, regional, state, and certainly a federal level as well. We connect our members, we connect with elected officials, we connect with stakeholders, and then probably what might be most important is we inform. Chambers are looked at as a credible source of information, especially from a business community standpoint. And that information that we disseminate outwards is geared to really help the business community grow and thrive. So we're kind of a cog in this big wheel as a resource for the business community.
I know from past experience that you maintain and have a dedicated board of directors that help guide you in the decision making, and they're very much connected to their community. How do you maintain a board and the quality of the people that continue to serve on that board?
Yeah, that's another great question. 60 board members, and some of our board members have served for, more than a decade. They're committed to the region. They see incredible opportunity in Atlantic City and Atlantic County. You have to keep them energized. It's a volunteer basis that they serve on our board and on our committees. So the way I look at it is that if we take direction from our board of directors and our executive committee, when we take that direction, if we're able to go forward and make a difference and be an agent of change in our marketplace, that keeps them engaged and enthused because they are volunteering a significant amount of time. And it's hard to get CEOs and COOs and executive level officials to engage with the board unless you're producing. So I think the more you produce, the more you're able to do, the more you're able to connect and provide access and information, they stay engaged. And I think that goes to the history of the chamber and the commitment to our incredible board members that having access to their experience and information and talent is unbelievable. They're a tremendous group of leaders in our region.
Michael, what is one of the most important lessons you've learned in leading the chamber?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. When you have 60 board members, you have 400 members, you're dealing with a lot of elected officials. There's a lot of agendas in the room, and learning how to balance those agendas and how to move your effort forward to better the community is certainly something I've learned to do over the time. But I think that the most important thing that I've learned at my time at the chamber is really the power of a connected business community. The being the voice of that business community and having the support of your members and your board of directors and really collaborating with a number of stakeholders for overall quality of life improvement in our region is the ability and the opportunity to collaborate and connect, and the power of that is something that I've learned over this time that exceeded my expectations, certainly.
That is a great answer. The ability to connect and collaborate for the greater good. I think that's great. And that's a good place to take a little break. Michael, I want you to sit tight. We are talking with Michael Chait, president of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber, and we'll be right back.
Thanks to Michael and everyone at the Greater Atlantic City Chamber. Let's focus on another individual business with John D'Onofrio, one of the partners for the Summers Point Brewing Company, and learn more about how opportunity can really lead to success.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, I want to welcome you back, actually, right? Because we were in the studio earlier, and you guys did a great job, but now we're up to the hybrid role here, so let's see how it goes. Okay. So maybe you could just start with a little bit of how you and the SoPo Brewco team, as we like to call it, Summers Point Brewing Company team, started on your entrepreneurial journey.
I mean, it was funny. You have Ed here. Ed and I went to high school together. We grew up in this area. Ed's a brewer. I'm a business guy. We always talked about doing a business, and this, beer just made sense for us. As we got older and our kids got older, we had more time, and we would go to breweries, and the talk kept going, and we that's how it started. Last 3 years we took it to the next level. We started looking in the area. We knew Summers Point was the place to be, and we got lucky. We found the building. Opportunity presented itself, and we took it. And we knew we couldn't do it by ourselves. We had to get some partners, and I work out at the FAA Technical Center, and I basically went around. I was able to recruit 4 people who were interested in the same thing that we were, and that's why we have a total of 6.
Yeah, they're all good guys. You mentioned Summers Point, and there's a couple reasons why you chose Summers Point, right? There was no brewery in Summers Point, correct?
Correct. No brewery in Summers Point. And when you look at the demographics of the area and the locations of other breweries, there was definitely a hole in that area. And having Ocean City right across the bay, just made it that much sweeter.
So how was the first year? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about some positive. How was the first year?
First year was amazing. When we first opened those doors, I think Ed was a little more sure than I was, but I was like, what happens if we open these doors and no one comes in? Well, that first weekend was fantastic. The community really embraced us. And that kept going throughout the whole summer. And, then we said, we're going to probably slow down in the fall. Well, it just kept going. Actually, we probably didn't slow down until after Christmas. So normally our slow time, and what I'm noticing is it's January and February are slow time. But, other than that, every other month is pretty strong. So that first year went very well. Yeah.
Well, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the show. We got a lot to talk about, but I'll just ask one quick question before we go to the first break. Are you enjoying the work you're doing as much as the very first time you opened those doors?
It is fun. That's what we always talk about. It's not work. And everyone always asks us, how are we, are we going to grow? Or are you going to get bigger? Do you want to do more things? And I'm like, I'm enjoying myself. We are growing at a good pace. We all have fun. We love working the tap room. I think Ed and Kevin still love making beer. It's a win-win right now. So we're just having and rolling along, enjoying ourselves.
Thanks again to John and the whole team at the Summers Point Brewing Company. Our last interview today will feature Jim Ziris, Vice President for Hotel Sales in the Atlantic City region for Caesars Entertainment. So let's see Jim discuss about how he got to where he is today and the importance of the skill that you need when you're in business.
Jim, I want to thank you for being part of the show.
Joe, thanks a lot for the invitation. I'm happy to be here.
Can you take us back to that moment and tell us exactly how you set your course on this road and the role that you're now doing in convention and hotel sales?
Sure. I always felt hospitality was within my wheelhouse. And at first I didn't have formal education. I went away to Pittsburgh. Duquesne University had a 1-year program in airlines and a hotel. And I really took a liking to hotels. So I came back, started working in the industry, started pursuing my associate's degree in Atlantic Cape Community College, and then eventually getting my hospitality management degree in Rutgers. So all along throughout the path, it was progressive, but it wasn't something that happened overnight.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that I've known you for 20 years, and I don't think a year has gone by or even a quarter has gone by that you haven't been involved in some sort of training and education, either going to another convention or going to other people's conventions to learn more about what you're doing. How important are those external resources to coupled with your company's training that I'm sure they provide? How important is that to advancement in the career and to reach an elevated level where you are right now as vice president?
It's key. You've got to stay up on all the trends. And fortunately, within our industry, whether it be, from Caesars Entertainment providing training, or I belong to a lot of different associations such as Meeting Planners International or Professional Convention Management Association, and just learning more about, going to their conventions and going to the educational tracks, reading their publications. There's so much information out there that you just have to find what your niche is and the curiosity and pursue it. LinkedIn is another example where, I love stumbling upon articles, and then you just read them and then you go and seek more about that subject matter.
You mentioned a little bit about your book of business by talking about the different relationships you have. And it's interesting because it's a diverse group. It covers all different types of industries. And you talked about meeting planners industry and all that great stuff.
Oh.
But how important is it for the customer to understand completely the products and services you offer? Because you're always adding new elements to the mix, right? In the convention space.
Absolutely.
So how important is that to educate that customer?
That's a good point. You can't take it for granted because, there's a term, you don't know what you don't know. And that's how we approach, I could be dealing with the president of a Fortune 500 company or a mother of a bride the next day, or, somebody from a union or an association. So it's all different levels of professionalism of putting together meetings and conventions. So you have to kind of, ask the right questions. What is that they're looking to achieve by having the event that they have? And that's key. So the more questions you ask, the more you can offer your products and services to meet their needs.
So I think it's fair to say that a hyper focus on the customer, their needs, and making sure the offer meets their exact needs is a key to success in convention business. Is that true?
Absolutely. Because I've had situations where the sales manager did not ask the proper questions. They, you have a group in one side of the ballroom that's and they made their quarter and they're celebrating. On the other side of the ballroom might be a different corporation that has made the very difficult decision of downsizing, and they're delivering that message. So it's that yin and yang that unless you ask the right questions, you really have to set them up for success.
Speaking of questions, we got plenty of questions left for Jim Ziris, Vice President at Caesars Entertainment of Hotel Sales. We'll be right back with more South Jersey Business.
welcome back. We may be done with today's guests, but we are not done with today's show. We are going to close out today's show with the business alphabet. The intern crew has selected a word relating to business. Then the crew created a new word from each letter of that selected word. My goal is to show the connection between each of those words to today's selected word, and even connect those words to business in general. The team here is going to try to stump me, but I'm not about to let that happen. Here we go. Today's selected word is sold. Okay, here we go. So sold is the word. So the first word is sales. Okay, sales are important. In any form of business, whether it's a product or a service that you're selling, your sales are critical to the success of your business. So that one was easy. What's next? Opportunity. That's one of my favorite words because it goes way beyond business. It speaks to your life opportunity as well. And if you see opportunity and take opportunity in business and in life, you can lead to a path full of success. So take that opportunity and be able to recognize it. Leadership, another great word. Leadership is important for so many reasons. First of all, leadership is what helps businesses grow. It helps businesses succeed. It also sets the tone within a business and an organization, which we've spotlighted today, to move people forward, to move your clients forward, to move your employees forward, to move your business forward. Leadership is critical, and great leadership is essential. Debt. Okay, just like we talked about sales, all businesses have it. Debt is something that most businesses have. And debt is important in some ways because there's good, bad debt. The good debt might be debt that you take on to buy a building or a big piece of machinery, or to have credit extended to your business so you can do more than you could do without taking on that debt. But debt has to pay back, and there's usually a price to that. So when you pay debt back, there might be interest rate, there could be terms that you have to look at. So be strategic when you take on debt, but also understand that debt can be, and in most cases is, a normal part of the business. So wow, they didn't stump me. So there you have it. That's all for today and today's Business Alphabet. And that's the show. Thanks to all of our guests who generously chose to be part of the show and enabled us to continue production in our virtual environment. And once again, thank you to Stockton University and everyone that makes this program possible. Let's do it again next time. And until then, let's get growing, South Jersey. Thanks for watching.